This is Front Row. Top news in the Virgin Islands is told only by JTV. On the front row of the news today, is it the time for restructuring of our immigration policies and making it more friendly to persons born here? Hear what the plans are from a premier. Back from the UK talks, a deputy premier zeroes in on making it harder for illicit finances to penetrate the territory's system. Also hear of an opportunity for filmmakers in the Virgin Islands to compete by writing, shooting, editing, and scoring a short film in 48 hours. Details when we return.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Everyone looks to the future, but no one truly knows what the future holds.
The number of people under the age of 20 with type 2 diabetes could increase by 49% by 2050. Let it be known that we all have a 30% chance of developing hypertension.
Globally, more than 300 million people of all ages suffer from depression.
More than 60,000 young adults aged 20 to 39 are diagnosed with cancer each year.
Obesity leads to problems such as stroke, heart disease, and kidney failure.
No matter your race, age, or color, we are all at risk.
These diseases can be managed or prevented if caught early.
But with the right medicine and the right doctors to keep us on a path to live a robust and healthy life,
we will live well.
Opiate. Hi, I'm Cowboy, and I'm running for president of Stake. Thank you. And I will meet your needs. Some bathrooms are so expensive to build, they come with security. But at Staycation Butchers, our meats are affordable. People always ask me, Cowboy, where does your salmon come from? Well, our salmon comes from the water. A vote for Cowboy is a vote for quality, integrity, and consistency. So come into Staycation Butchers and cast your vote for me, your next president of Steak. Alexandra Durant approves this message.
No, I don't.
Now for the news on a front row in details. It's time to review the decades-old immigration policies of the Virgin Islands, says Premier and Minister of Finance, Dr. the Honorable Natalio D. Whitley.
Also be having a series of meetings in our community as we seek to establish immigration policy. Because, of course, for many years, we have been, we would say, functioning based on a particular approach to immigration, where, since, the 70s or so, of course, the population has expanded quite a bit. But we understand now that there's time to make a transition to ensure that persons who have been in the territory, they have their children in the territory, and you have quite a number of young persons graduating from school and persons coming home from school to ensure that we have an adequately trained workforce who can take up opportunities in our community, while at the same time, of course, we ensure that we've properly integrated persons who have served this community for a number of decades. So all of these things would have to be discussed and considered in the context of an immigration policy and, of course, a labor policy as well, because both of them work together. And it's a conversation that we have to have in a responsible way, not in a divisive and ugly way in which sometimes these conversations had. We have to have it in a way where we look out for the best interests of the people of the Virgin Islands.
Premier Whitley was at the time responding to the question of tackling immigration woes at his May 16, 2023 press conference with his deputy, Honorable Lerner G. Smith OBE, by his side.
Good question. Kedrick Malone has been given the responsibility to conduct a review. I think it's in the framework. It's B33. I think that's in the Commission of Inquiry report. And the terms of reference are there, but it includes the amount of time which is suitable to be given residency and belongership, among some other terms of reference in the report. But persons can reference the framework document, and it's right there. And in the Commission of Inquiry report, it's B33. But that review will be conducted.
On the other hand, Premier Whitley also shared that his government is currently working on a new resilience fund program, creating a mechanism to bolster a stronger public-private partnership.
So we have possibilities for public-private partnerships, PPPs, and we also have, which will be announced soon, we have different funds where persons will be able to make contributions. And that's something that we're going to speak about very soon, something called the Resilience Fund. And persons will hear about that soon. We'll have an opportunity to raise money to contribute to the development of the Virgin Islands. And, there are other ways that we're discussing as well of improving our infrastructure.
Other ways to finance the development of the territory's infrastructure was the focus when this came up at the press conference.
As it pertains to the loan guarantee, we don't have a specific guarantee on the table right now, but we have engaged the United Kingdom. Of course, we have borrowing guidelines, and we've spoken to the United Kingdom to know that, of course, if indeed it's necessary for us to go outside of the ratios, that they've been very much supportive of that. And we have made a commitment to borrow because, of course, as you know, we've had quite a bit of damage since the 2017 storms. And, our people, the standards of our people, our infrastructure doesn't reflect that. It doesn't reflect the standards of our people, it doesn't reflect our economy, and it doesn't reflect what it is we want for ourselves. So we're very much committed to borrowing, to improving our infrastructure and giving us that world-class infrastructure that our people deserve. But we'll borrow responsibly. We'll borrow in such a way. As you have said, we'll seek the best interest rates possible. We will borrow in such a way that we know that we can service our debt. And then, of course, we'll have a phased approach to development. But as you said, we have to seek other ways to be able to finance our infrastructural development.
As part of a recent visit to the United Kingdom on the delegation led by Premier and Minister of Finance, Deputy Premier and Minister for Financial Services, Labour and Trade, Honorable Lerner G. Smith, reported on tackling illicit finance.
At the recently concluded Joint Ministerial Council meeting, which I was privileged to attend as part of the Honorable Premier's delegation, one of the key subjects discussed related to the subject of illicit finance and how the United Kingdom and the overseas territories can work together to tackle the subject. This has led to the launching of a new ministerial-level annual dialogue that will address the issue of illicit finance. While the details of how this dialogue will be carried forward is being worked on, I'm very pleased to announce that the Honorable Premier's offer for the Virgin Islands to host the first meeting on the subject has been accepted by his colleague, Overseas Territories leaders, and the United Kingdom. As the Minister responsible for financial services, I have tremendous interest in ensuring and leading as necessary the charge against any activity that may become a reputational dent on the financial services and products the Virgin Islands has to offer. We may be small in size, but we recognize our giant role as a jurisdiction in the conduct and facilitation of global financial services.
She also reported that open public registers of beneficial ownership is still an issue being highlighted by some in the United Kingdom Parliament. However, with some challenges arriving due to court findings, a technical working group is being mobilized among the overseas territories.
As expected, trade with a particular emphasis on financial services formed significant parts of the JMC agenda. The UK government acknowledges the importance of nurturing a prosperous and resilient economy for the BVI as well as the other overseas territories. Along with the challenges brought forth by the pandemic, the Ukraine war, and of course this era of inflation. In spite of this, the evidence from international standard setters, or let me put it differently, despite the evidence from international standard setters, some in the UK still view the lack of public registers of beneficial ownership as a deficiency that needs addressing among overseas territories. Explicit recognition was given to the BVIs upholding the highest international financial standards. The importance of continued cooperation between the OTs and the UK was stressed, especially through technical forums on anti-money laundering, sanctions enforcement, counter-terrorist financing, and foreign bribery, and I will return to those points a little later on. We utilized the meetings, as the Premier said, to illustrate our consistent stance in the BVI on publicly accessible registers of beneficial ownership. As Her Majesty's government is well aware, in September of 2020, the then Premier pledged that the BVI would work collaboratively with Her Majesty's government towards a publicly accessible register of beneficial ownership for companies aligning with international standards and best practices, and at least as implemented by EU member states by 2023, which is the end of this year, in accordance with the EU Fifth Anti-Money Laundering Directive. However, as you know, these developments have not transpired, and the European courts have raised significant and relevant hurdles to implementing unrestricted access to registers. I am happy to announce that we agreed that it would be prudent for the overseas territories and the United Kingdom to establish a technical working group on beneficial ownership transparency. This group will share expertise and discuss issues surrounding the implementation of publicly accessible registers of company beneficial ownership, ensuring the necessary safeguards to protect privacy rights.
Honorable Smith made it abundantly clear that only legitimate business is welcome, and efforts will be strengthened to make it harder for those who want to violate.
The Virgin Islands once again declares that it remains open to only legitimate business, premised on respect for our laws and the laws of other countries, and will continue to cooperate with external law enforcement and the civil authorities of other countries. Given our pivotal position in the global economy and as an international finance center, and a firm commitment as a jurisdiction to upholding international standards of regulation, the Virgin Islands is a key partner in the global fight against illicit finance. We will therefore deepen our cooperation with international partners to make it even harder for criminals to carry out their illicit activities wherever they attempt to do so.
Write, shoot, edit, and score a short film in 48 hours. That's a challenge being offered to producers in the sister territories, Virgin Islands, UK, and Virgin Islands of the United States. It's a call by Paradise 48 Film Festival. About this, I had a conversation with the woman that's behind it all, Larica Jude.
I am the founder as well as the director for the Paradise 48 Film Festival here in the Virgin Islands.
Okay, so tell us about that festival.
Okay, so pretty much the Paradise 48 Film Festival is a time-themed competition. It's the first time-themed competition that's being held in the Virgin Islands, and not just the British, but also the U.S. Virgin Islands. And the premise of the competition is filmmaking teams have 48 hours in which they have to write, shoot, edit, and score an original short film. And they have to turn it in by a deadline, which is, of course, 48 hours later. So pretty much they start on a Friday where we have our kickoff event. And at the kickoff event, that's like, icebreaker. They learn of different elements that they have to include in their films. And by like 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock that night, that's when the competition officially starts. And 48 hours later, which will be 8 o'clock on Sunday, they have to submit their films by that deadline, pretty much.
Okay, why this initiative?
Actually, I participated in a 24-hour, so that was even more pressure, 24-hour competition back in college when I was in 2009. And I thought it was really fun. I went to college in Orlando, Full Sail University, and I was able to participate in a competition just like this. And I thought it was a really fun experience. And I was like, man, I wish they had something like this back home. So since I graduated in 2010, and I came home and I was just like, I drafted up my proposal, this whole deck and stuff with this information, but I've been sitting on it for over 10 years. And then in 2022, I finally decided, actually in 2021, I was like, man, I'm seeing a lot of emerging talent in the VI where I see a lot of videos from different filmmakers or videographers. And I was like, I really think this would be a great opportunity to really expose and showcase local talent. So I was like, man, the festival that I had been sitting there for how many years now would be the perfect opportunity to do so. So that's why I did that. I decided in 2022 to go ahead and approach the film office here in St. Thomas and then the BVI Film Commission. Just, I wanted to do the Virgin Islands on whole, not just the USVI, but the BVI. And here we are. 2 years later.
Oh, awesome. What are the prospects for filmmakers of these islands, these territories, seeing that you're doing it on both U.S. Virgin Islands and in the Virgin Islands British?
So I think that filmmaking itself is a very lucrative industry here in the Virgin Islands. I think a lot of it is untapped. And because we are a small industry, there hasn't really been, while there have been production over the years, it's not, of course, not on the scale as cities in the States. But I think that with this competition, it gives our local filmmakers the opportunity to put themselves to the forefront, and with that, it allows them to be discovered because we've had companies who've called and inquired like, hey, we need someone to create something for us. and we were able to recommend filmmakers based on that. Or we've even had filmmakers who attended the festival, participated. They were able to move to the States and actually work in big productions in the States just by being a part of this festival. They were able to put out their talent and be able to be seen by industry professionals who tapped into that resource of, hey, we have a local person here. How can we use them on bigger productions that we have in the States? And I know that obviously our main goal is to be able to bring those big productions all the time to the shores of the Virgin Islands. But I really think that right now it is, while it's there, it could definitely be built upon, and it will grow the industry. The film industry will grow here. And I really think that through this festival, we have the opportunity to showcase the talent of so that we don't have to hire people from away to complete any major productions or do any marketing promotions that we need or anything like that. We can just stick here local and tap into the resource that we have here on our shores.
And that's awesome. So how, where, when?
So I mentioned earlier the kickoff event starts on June 16th, and that's where filmmakers will come. We'll be able to meet the filmmakers. Those who are in the BVI, they will attend via Zoom if they can't make it over to, well, I would want them to film in the BVI anyway, so they'll stay in the BVI. But if they're not in the USVI or if they're not in St. Thomas, because that's where our headquarters are, they will attend via Zoom and they will discover their hidden elements. Hidden elements are necessary, they're mandatory to be in a few hidden elements that they have to include. And when they include those elements, they don't find out about those elements until the kickoff event. So that way it prevents anybody from making their films in advance. And then once they discover the element, then competition starts at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. until 8 p.m. on the Sunday, they film, and then they have to turn it in by the deadline. And then after that, which is the 18th, there's a judging process where we eliminate we come up with a short list, and then we have the top 10 films, which make it to the final screening and award show, which is on June 24th. And that's where community members will be able to join us and watch the films, the top 10 films, and then there will be the judging by our industry professional judges, and they will see who's the winners. And people can join us online as well, because it will be streamed live. It will be pay-per-view, but it will be streamed live, that they will be able to tap in and join for those who can't join us in person. If you want to register, you can go to paradise48.com. In the top right-hand corner, there's a big button that says register. It will take you to our registration link, and you can register that way. Currently, we have general registration. We are currently in general registration, and late registration opens up on the 24th. So if you want to not be charged extra to register, your team doesn't want to be charged extra to register, I would suggest that you do general registration right now to avoid that extra late fee.
Now, okay. And the aspect of the festival that you spoke of will be physically on Tortola?
No, it will be in St. Thomas. So the actual screening and award show will be in St. Thomas. The online portion, they will be able, for those who are in Tortola or any parts of the BVI who won't be able to actually attend in person, they will be online. We'll be streaming it online as well, and they'll be able to purchase online tickets so they can watch the show as it's going on.
An interesting challenge for creatives. Well, that will do it for this edition of Front Row. Top news in the Virgin Islands is told only by us here at JTV. Remember to continue to follow us on all our social media platforms, including our website, jahphix@television.com. I'm Kathy Richards. Thank you so much for tuning in.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Everyone looks to the future, but no one truly knows what the future holds.
The number of people under the age of 20 with type 2 diabetes could increase by 49% by 2050.
Let it be known that we all have a 30% chance of developing hypertension.
Globally, more than 300 million people of all ages suffer from depression.
More than 60,000 young adults aged 20 to 39 are diagnosed with cancer each year.
Obesity leads to problems such as stroke, heart disease, and kidney failure.
No matter your race, age, or color, we are all at risk.
These diseases can be managed or prevented if caught early.
But with the right medicine and the right doctors to keep us on a path to live a robust and healthy life,
We will live well.
Opiate. Hi, I'm Cowboy, and I'm running for president of Stake. Thank you. And I will meet your needs. Some bathrooms are so expensive to build, they come with security. But at Staycation Butchers, our meats are affordable. People always ask me, Cowboy, where does your salmon come from? Well, our salmon comes from the water. I vote for Cowboy. As a vote for quality, integrity, and consistency. So come into Staycation Butchers and cast your vote for me, your next president of Steak. Alexandra Durant approves this message.
No, I don't.